Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the podcast. My name is Aaron, and if you are interested in the podcast, please like the video, subscribe to the channel so that I can get attention to it, and hopefully I can bring more content to you over time. So as I mentioned in the introductory video of this channel, I won't be bringing a ton of content, discussions, blog posts, vlog posts, however you want to put it, for the next little bit. But as I alluded to, I'm going to be moving in the next month. As you can see, I am in the lounge, 30th floor lounge of the Augustana building in Edmonton, which is my current apartment. And I will be moving back to South Edmonton in mid-November. That is the plan. I have heart surgery actually in about 3 weeks from now, and assuming all goes well with that, I will be moving back to South Edmonton in mid-November. It'll be a slow move through the month of November and into December, and I will be detailing the move and the new/old apartment on this podcast. It is a return home. It is not going to a new place for me. I lived in the building that I'm moving back to for almost 9 years, and I have been living in this apartment in downtown Edmonton for a year, and I am moving back to my old building for a variety of reasons. A little bit of history of how I ended up here in the Augustana and Edmonton. I moved into this building, which is across from the Legislative Assembly of Alberta, as you can see behind me, about just under a year ago. And it wasn't entirely my idea to move here. This was not my first choice of place to live. And I will talk a little bit about that without getting into too much detail. So a year ago, a very serious relationship where I lived with somebody, came essentially to an end at about almost 1 year ago from where I'm making this video. This was followed by the end of my marriage the year previous, and I was in a position where I needed to make some decisions I was in a lovely 2-bedroom apartment in the Wellington Court Apartments in South Edmonton, which is where I had lived since I moved back to Edmonton from Lethbridge in 2016. And so from 2016 to almost the beginning of 2025, I had lived in that one apartment building. I'd switched apartments a couple times inside the building, but the building I had been in from the beginning since I'd returned to Edmonton. And I dearly loved it, dearly. It's a wonderful 4-story walk-up. It's about 20 years old now, so it's not brand new, but it's in very good condition and it's very well managed, which is something that's rare in the rental scene in the Edmonton area, if you know anything about the rental scene here. But I was somewhat persuaded by a couple of things to move to downtown Edmonton and to leave effectively my life as it had been for almost 9 years behind in terms of where I was living, which also involved giving up a lot of things. I'd given up, my marriage had ended, my relationship had ended, and so there were a lot of things emotionally that had changed. I was single for the first time in, 6 years, just about 5-6 years. And about 6 years. And so that was an adjustment for me. I'd lived with somebody in relationship for 6 years prior, nonstop, and then all of a sudden I was on my own. So that was a big shift. The other is that I had sort of accumulated, different things, different possessions, nothing huge, nothing grandiose, nothing too swanky or fancy, but I had built sort of a comfortable environment around me in my apartment. And one of the things that had to happen when I moved from my 2-bedroom apartment, which was very spacious, in South Edmonton into the 1-bedroom at the Augustana, is I had to ditch a lot of stuff. And some stuff that meant actually a lot to me. I had a lovely king-size bed. I had a lovely desk. I had some dressers and things like that. Things that had taken me time to put together and be comfortable. And I had to give those up because, frankly, the apartment that I moved into in the Augustana was half the size of my 2-bedroom apartment in South Edmonton. And so not only had I sort of lost relationship and I was very much living on my own again, I'd also lost a lot of the different pieces that I had sort of accumulated over time. And I'm not a big material person. I'm pretty minimalist, but I had given up a lot at that point. And so giving up on some of those elements that I really treasured just as simple material things in my life was actually also quite difficult. And over the course of the year, I've been able to sort of reestablish a comfortable environment. But the reality is that there's been something missing. And this apartment, the Augustana, well, it's lovely. And as you can see, the views are spectacular. You can see all of Edmonton. And actually, if you look out another window, which I won't show you in this video, you can see the entire skyline of downtown Edmonton, which is lovely. So there's some beautiful things there and very close to my place of work. And it's downtown, and you're close to certain cultural events and some really good restaurants and that sort of thing. The reality is that day-to-day living here is not the easiest. Downtown Edmonton at this point in time is heavily under construction with the light rail transit system being expanded and parks being developed and lots of different things. And where I'm at, physically located, it's a chore even to go get groceries at a reasonable price. There's 1 or 2 grocery stores sort of within a reasonable distance, but they're not reasonably priced. They're very expensive. And so I made the decision fairly early on after moving into this building that this was going to be an experiment, that in a sense I was treating my apartment here as an Airbnb. And I gave it the old college try. But I had determined back in about March or April of 2025 of this year that I would not, if possible, I would not be renewing my lease in this building where I am at. And so I made the decision that I will be returning to South Edmonton and back into my old apartment building. And I was able to secure at a reasonable price a very nice 1-bedroom apartment, which is probably almost close to 300 square foot bigger than my current apartment. That's a big thing. There's a lot more space, and it's ground floor, and I'm close to sort of way more close to the amenities of life than I am here. Further from work, to be sure. That is the one downside of moving back, but you can't have everything. And so I'm willing to make the commute as I did for almost 9 years prior to this, but in exchange for having going back home to the apartment that I love, and also I will be making arrangements to also find some of the things that I had lost along the way, and that will be a feature of me moving back into my apartment. I won't be regaining all the things that I sort of had given up on, but I'll be returning some of those material comforts to what they were prior to me moving in this building, and some additional ones as well. So I'll be doing a series of videos. So I just had a couple people come into that lounge, so I had to stop my video. What I was going to say, sort of to wrap up this video, is I think, and this has been expressed by a couple of people who are close to me, is the old warning: beware of trying to recreate the past. And by moving back to my old building and sort of regaining some of the material pieces that I've lost, maybe even rekindling some old traditions from a previous life, that, there's a risk of being disappointed, there was a risk of getting trapped in the past, etc. And from my perspective, I'm very aware of that warning not to try and recreate the past. And there's a couple of mechanisms in place that will prevent me from actually really doing that. First of all, although I'm moving back into the building that I was in, I'm not moving back into the apartment that I was in at my old building. And so it will be a new place that is mine, and that'll serve as a base ground for a blending of returning home, but also turning a new leaf, having a fresh start. And the other piece is that, unlike other times where I have moved, including the time when I moved up to Edmonton, I'm in a bit of a different position now to build my surroundings a little bit more in the way that I would like. I'm not rich by any stretch of the imagination, and there are, I don't have an unlimited budget by any stretch of the imagination. But I am in a position in life now where I can be comfortable and create an environment that is comfortable for myself. And I plan to do that, probably more than I ever have previously when I've made a move in the last 10 years, almost 10 years. And so that is going to be a big piece. And so the space that I'm actually going to be in is going to be very different from the one that I left when I was previously in that apartment building. So that's a big piece as well. The other thing is, it's a time where I am looking to reestablish some relationships with people that have kind of suffered over the last year. In part, it had to do with physical proximity. For other reasons, the last year, in addition to me being, uprooted and moved into a new place in the city and a little bit further away from some people that are closer from a physical proximity, I've been incredibly busy the last year with work, particularly on one project that lasts for a year. And I am at this stage over halfway through that particular project. And so what that means is that by the time I move back to the building, and the big portion of that project, the big piece of that project that required my greatest amount of effort and attention and overtime and all that sort of thing has passed. And although I will be busy with this particular project and other elements of my work, I'm going to be back in a position pretty well right away, but certainly this coming spring, to reestablish some connections and reestablish some traditions in life that I've had to kind of let go the last couple of years. One of the things that I've already started to plan for is I used to do what's called a banana bread Sunday, where it was sort of an open house, and I would bake banana bread and people would come, and reviving a tradition called Scone Sunday, because scones are a little bit easier to make, but it would be that social aspect that I want to rejuvenate in my life that really has been absent. In addition to being in, this relatively small apartment, it's a little lonely down here. It's a little isolated because I don't have a lot of connections with people in my building or anywhere sort of in the near vicinity. A couple people that I know are relatively close, but again, it's a bit of a hike and a bit of effort to go and even meet up with them sometimes. So the hope is that with this reestablishment of a base, it's not about recreating the past, but it is reestablishing that base ground in order to start what is effectively going to be a new chapter in my life. I've had to let some hopes and dreams go. And I've had to let some people go. And some hopes and dreams with people go over the last year. And I'm now in a place where I realize it's time for me to turn a page. And I will be best suited for that, not in a place that I don't consider home. Lovely apartment that I'm in, you can see behind, but it isn't home. And I think we find ourselves best when we're in the comfort of home and are in a position to turn a new leaf and start a new chapter from home. And so that's what this is about. So I look forward to bringing you along, those of you that are interested in seeing. Until next time, everybody, take care.